Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. I am Shafiu Suleiman. The Senate has defended the acquisition of 360 sports utility vehicles, SUVs, for its members. However, the specific cost of each vehicle was not disclosed, and they clarified that their members preferred imported SUVs over domestically manufactured ones. Previously, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SARAP, had sought a court order in the Federal High Court in Lagos to prevent lawmakers from receiving the SUVs until their legal applications for an injunction were heard and decided. This legal action was prompted by reports that members of the House of Representatives were planning to purchase SUVs worth 57.6 billion naira, with each SUV estimated to cost around 160 million. In response to these developments, Sunday Karimi, the chairman of the Committee on Senate Services, expressed that Nigerians were scrutinizing lawmakers while overlooking ministers who possessed multiple official vehicles. He pointed out that some ministers have more than 3 Land Cruisers, Prado, and other vehicles, yet they face no questions. He also emphasized the challenges faced by senators when traveling within their senatorial districts due to the poor condition of Nigeria's roads, which led to increased maintenance costs for their vehicles. Meanwhile, the Senate on Tuesday established an ad hoc committee to examine all contracts that have been awarded for the restoration of the country's 4 maribound refineries. Deputy Senate President Barrow Jibrin, who presided over the session, informed the committee in response to a motion presented by Sunday Karimi of Kogi West. The aim of this investigation is to prevent the misallocation of public funds. Concerns were raised about the extensive funds allocated for the renovation of the Port Harcourt refinery, which has not yielded productive results. Similar concerns were expressed regarding the Warri refinery, which received substantial financial injections from the government but failed to become operational. Issa Jibrin, the senator representing Kogi East, was appointed as the committee's chairperson, with members including the chairpersons of Senate committees on petroleum resources, downstream, upstream, gas, finance, appropriation, and public accounts. The motion presented by Mr. Karimi highlighted that the Nigerian government has spent a substantial sum of 11.35 trillion naira on refinery rehabilitation contracts from 2010 to the present day. Regrettably, these refineries remain non-functional despite these considerable investments. Joining us tonight to share perspectives on these issues, I have in the studio strategist and policy analyst Baba Yusuf. He's also the Group CEO of Global Investment and Trade Company. I am also joined virtually by Dr. Isa Abdullahi. He is an economic analyst and a lecturer of economics at the Federal University, Kasheri, Gombe State. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Shafiu.
Also welcoming the lecturer from the Dr. Isa from Kasheri University. Okay, we hope he will join us in the course of this discussion. Okay, let's look at the issues very closely. Let's start with the Senate. Now, talking about coming up with defense, as a result of the public outcry, there has been a lot of concerns in respect to this purchase of SUVs. And then listening to the Senate talking about the urgent need to get these vehicles as a result of bad roads, they've been spending monies on repairing their vehicles and what have you. Again, why me? Why us? Why not the executive branch? Let's start with the first defense, the line of defense, that they're doing this because of the bad roads in Nigeria. Who appropriate money for what? And whose responsibility it is to oversight, the rehabilitation or the construction of these roads that they're complaining about?
Thank you very much. To be honest, I don't think I'll be wrong if I say I align myself with the sensitivities of Nigerians. Highly disappointing comments from the Senate, National Assembly at this critical moment in the history of Nigeria. In my opinion, I think they could have done a better PR job than this, what I personally, as a Nigerian, consider insulting remarks to Nigerians, insulting the intelligence of Nigerians, talking about bad roads. The same institution that appropriates funds for infrastructure for everything in this economy, the same institution that is empowered with the power of oversight, the same institution that is empowered with the power of making laws and improving them and ensuring accountability. The same institution is now coming to cry as the bereaved in this case, making a case, to my mind, that falls flat on its face, given the kind of situation we have, all over the country without exception. People that represent all of us, in the hallowed chambers, green and red, that promised, that cried and prayed and prayed to God and appealed to us and told us all manner of stories of what they would do when they come into office. It appears, to my mind, that there is no reflection of, first of all, respect for Nigerians, and secondly, this does not reflect the level of seriousness with which they take their job. As far as I'm concerned, that is my feedback to that comment from the Senate spokesperson.
Okay, taking a look at the second, defense, if you like, or trying to exonerate themselves or push the blame. Why us? We're just having, 160 million worth of SUV. What about the ministers who go about 3 to 4 SUVs in a convoy? Why are Nigerians not talking about this? The executive branch is having more in terms of attention, and nobody is saying anything. Is it a good response now, looking at the current situation we find ourselves?
So I think that comment from the Senate is also more or less reiterating what Nigerians know, that it appears, and I'm using the word cautiously, appears, until leadership, executive, legislature demonstrate otherwise, that governance is seen from these principal actors as a jamboree, because now it's a function of they are even doing worse than, more than our own. We should even have better. You should even go and look at them, leave us. It sounds like children fighting over
give us some breathing space. By the way, we are not the only ones.
Yes, so it's like children fighting over a couple of cookies. And I don't see any concern about the welfare and the well-being and the security of Nigerians who voted them, whom they are claiming they represent. There is no conversation about, interestingly, there is no conversation about Nigerians in this feedback. It's about words, we and them, and who is taking more share than the other. And the argument about tool to work with, you don't have cars. I don't see poor people in the legislature. Don't forget there is a lot of also there are people that are that have returned. They have been there and they are coming back.
Taking another.
Yes, and I don't see anybody.
Some that have been in the Senate in the last 12 years, for instance.
Yes,
they've gone through 3
Some have
sessions.
been governors for 2 terms. Some have been in the House of Representatives. Some have been in the Senate. Some have held critical offices in this country. Some have been accomplished businessmen and women, and they are still claiming they don't have vehicles. And
when they are leaving the offices at the state level, they go with this vehicle.
Absolutely.
And then, because what he was saying is that it is not a big deal. It comes with every session of the National Assembly. Changing cars or buying new cars is not an issue. What this means is that, okay, if for instance we have a governor who is at the Senate for 12 years, beyond the vehicles he has taken after leaving office as governor, he has also gotten 3 different new vehicles in the last 3 sessions, and now he's getting another one. So with all of this, it is not an issue. So what happened to the presentation, the claim that we are representing the people, we are here for the people?
To be honest, like I said earlier, they are just encrusting or further emboldening that notion, which is becoming what it is, that governance in Nigeria, the political class, are just in a jamboree, not in the, because there is no disposition in action, in disposition, and in comments, demonstrating that sense of service, coming from the point of view of sense of service, like
rather sense of
entitlement. And more than that, Shapiu, there is no conversation about the citizens. That is my concern to say. You see, let me be clear. There is a boundary between entitlement, which is true. It is their entitlement. If it is their entitlement, it comes to the office, fine. But then what I expect is the sense of duty, commitment to serve, first of all, before any other thing. And if you are coming at a critical moment, to see in your dispositions and actions and mannerisms that indeed you came to serve at a critical time, and having done that, I want to see sacrifice for Nigerians. Nigerians are always being told by the political class to make sacrifice, tighten your belt.
We extensively discussed this in the last session.
In this case, they don't want to make the sacrifice. Even though God has blessed every single member of this hallowed chambers. God has blessed them.
That's right.
What I expect is the sense of service, not the sense of entitlement.
Right. Okay. Let's look at the collaboration now. Or the Kahoot, if you like. Yeah. Look at the executive branch now. They're taking 4 and all of that. What does it say about this notion of state capture? You know, it appears that Nigerians are in for a complete capture.
Yes, that's why I call it a jamboree. And that's why I say nobody's talking about the citizen. It's about we and them. They appropriate, okay? The executive executes, and now they come and do this show. I'm pointing finger at the executive and saying, nah, them, no be we. And then the executive would say, nah, them, no be we. If I borrow the street parlance. You know, so this, to me, is telling us, or is telling me a signs of days to come. Don't forget, the parliament or the National Assembly was inaugurated in June. July, August, September, October, 4 months down the line. The key conversations are around tools for work, cars, and all these things. Financial benefits to them.
How to share the resources.
How to share the resources, how to share committee, how to share this and that. Not about service, not about, you know,
the plight of the ordinary people.
Yes, so if it is your entitlement and you decide to say, Nigerians, for me personally as an individual, and I'll go to something after this, I have decided to forego this. And that goes to the issue of state capture, not from the point of view of even executive and legislator, from the point of view of opposition. Where are the opposition parties? They have got silence. There is a golden silence.
They have members.
The Labour Party that were shouting as if they will never sit in the same room with the APC and the PDP. Silence.
They are subsumed.
The NMPP and everybody have decided this is good for all of us.
That's right.
I'm waiting to see where those constructive engagements and constructive opposition will come. But it appears, as far as our Commonwealth is concerned, when it is shared at that level, there's no opposition.
That's right. Okay, we'll get back to that later. But while we, make efforts to get Dr. Abdullahi. Okay, I think we have him. Okay. Dr. Abdullahi, if you are there, can you hear me? Dr. Abdullahi. Okay, I think we're still. Doctor, if you're there, okay, let me take it from here. We're talking about the procurement of SUVs, for lawmakers at both chambers of the National Assembly, costing 57.6 billion naira. Yes, and then we have lawmakers, that are coming to say, well, why the heck, why the noise around this? We deserve this. We have bad roads and all of that. What do you make up with this?
Hello, I think, thank you for having me this evening. My case here is there's a very serious problem about that issue. In Nigeria today, we have a situation whereby there are large number of people who have a lot of problems. In fact, the Psychiatric Association of Nigeria is saying that a lot of people are getting lunatic. A lot of large number of people are getting out of their senses. They have one kind of psychiatric problem or the other, mostly due to the harsh economic times they've been in. And in some times when you are driving, you realize that somebody crosses the road He doesn't even have time to know whether he's on the road or not, because he has a problem of thinking, overthinking. He doesn't have what to eat. He doesn't have what to send his children to school. He is thinking left, right, and center. Things he used to have now he cannot afford. And people in Nigeria are getting poorer and poorer every day. They don't have the basic necessities of life. Nigeria has become one of the poorest countries. We have one of the worst foreign exchange system in the world today. In Africa, of course, it's even the worst. Then we are also having problem of higher prices for goods and services in the country, where more number of people are getting poorer. Then this is a time when the government will tell everybody to sacrifice. There are better days ahead. There are better days ahead. But my worry is that whenever we have these problems, if we take ourselves back a little bit, we realize that prices of petroleum products have been increased more than 20, 30 times in the history of this country. But every blessed day we are going to increase the price of a petroleum product, we will say the government doesn't have money, and we want to gather more money to build more schools for the children of the poor. We want to get better hospitals. We want to get better roads. We want to get so on and so forth, to the extent that Nigerians have been stretched to the wall. And instances came when Nigeria had to privatize most of its companies, government companies, like the Nigerian telecommunication, like the NITEL, like the NEPA, that's the National Electricity Power Authority, all in the name of saying that the government will gather a lot of money to take care of infrastructural decay of the country. Up to now, we have no better roads. Up to now, we don't have better electricities. Up to now, we don't have better roads. We don't have better hospitals. Up to now, our schools are in their own, shadows. But then, every day, when poor people or ordinary citizens of Nigeria are being told to be patient, we will have better days ahead, we realize that those people at the helm of affairs will live flamboyantly. Sometimes even living in a very much macho way, much more expensive way than even the leaders of those so-called advanced countries. The countries where we go to borrow money, the countries where aids and grants will come from, those who are controlling the IMF and the World Bank do not have to lavish their resources the way we are lavishing.
Doctor,
I think I was hearing, I was able to hear from that person saying that senators, eyes are on them, and then ministers do have many cars as much as possible. But then that could not be a reason. Our reason should be, what have we done to improve to better the life of ordinary citizen of Nigeria? That's the essence of being a legislator. How can you make laws that Nigerians will be ruled better? How can we ensure that rule of law operates in the government? How can we make laws and have an oversight function that will make sure that all the appropriations being put in the budgets have been strictly adhered to? And how can we make laws? How can we make monitoring in a situation whereby when you say you are going to give the ordinary Nigerians 25,000 naira, 1 million naira, or whatever, how can you make sure that these monies go to them directly and it has not been taken away by another person?
Yes,
that's the essence of becoming a better legislator. No matter how big the cars you drive, no matter how much the expensive cars you drive, if your people are not living happy with you, you are not doing the representation you are asked to do. And I don't think it's a better legislation riding bigger cars.
If I may interject, Doctor, yes, is it a case of double jeopardy now? When we have, you talked about...
Hello, I cannot hear you well.
You talk about the plight of ordinary Nigerians, who have elected representatives at the National Assembly level to guarantee that oversight, to guarantee that governance accountability. And yet, here we are with the same legislator that is elected to guarantee the rights of the people, to defend the rights of the people, to ensure accountability in governance, telling the people that elected them that we need to have some sort of buoyancy, some sort of luxury, and all of that. What do you make up with this, quagmire that we are in?
This is really a quagmire. This is really something disturbing. One of the reasons being put forward by those legislators is that the roads are very bad and they need expensive cars. They need very durable and strong cars. Then, what can we say? Can we say that it is because of the failure of the masses that the roads are bad? Or we are going to say that it's because the people in government, lawmakers inclusive, have not done the right thing to be done. That's why we don't have better roads. Are the common men or the ordinary citizens in Nigeria responsible for repairing roads in Nigeria? Who takes care of roads in Nigeria? Who is responsible of making appropriations and budget monitoring and taking care of the life of the ordinary one in Nigeria? Is it the poor one that will do that, or the people in the government? The people in the government, legislators, governors, members of state assemblies, presidents, and the elected, representatives of the people, the members of the federal executive are responsible, are the people that are to be held responsible for the betterment of the country or otherwise. So if we have something bad as that, you cannot say that we are in a bad situation, but we need more expensive cars because the roads are bad. Instead, you have
Okay, Doctor,
do that, and you did not do it. So I think is something, and this is not the first time we've been having that. Almost always. My worry is it that because when legislators will leave their offices, when they are taking, their final, valedictory sessions, they go with the cars that were initially bought for them, or are these cars supposed to be, owned by the government, so that those people who have left, the legislators that have gone in the 9th Assembly, will hand over all these vehicles to the people in the next Assembly? I think that is how governance should be. But then every day when new set of legislators will come, we have to buy new vehicles. That's a very serious thing.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Issa. Okay, we'll get back to you. But let me get a perspective from Baba Yusuf, as a strategist, a policy strategist. Now, let's look at the investments, really. Let's look at the figures. What can 56.7 billion naira do in terms of addressing some of the major or pressing challenges affecting Nigerians?
A lot. Very, very much a lot. I mean, look at the state of our education. Remember, the past administration was for many years grappling with the issues of payment of entitlements to the lecturers. It can go on and on, whether it is in the health sector, education sector, whatnot. Is it the industry, the power industry, the energy industry? Is it try to think about what 54 billion will do to the nano, micro, and small businesses in the informal sector. Think of what it can do to our agri value chain. Every sector you look at, 54 billion will make
it's begging for impact. Such money.
Absolutely. And these ladies and gentlemen are saying they need it. Like I said earlier, there is a constitutional provision. And then corporate-wise, there are things between entitlement and things that are not entitlement.
That's right.
But I'm saying that anybody that has taken political office and swore to the oath of office of service should consider sacrifice.
Is it a service? Because it
but this is no longer a service, but an entitlement or an office from the point of view of Jamboree. Because if you are looking at it, each and every member of the National Assembly is representing a constituency.
That's right.
And there is no singular constituency that is not impacted by the vagaries of the economic headwinds, socio-economic headwinds. You heard what Doctor said about the psychological, mental, and emotional state of mind of Nigerians, with over 140 million of 200 million Nigerians already confirmed as multidimensionally poor.
That's right.
Businesses are shutting down. In all that, multidimensional. And this is from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics.
That's right.
And you have businesses shutting down and all that, and you have these people still quarreling about cars. Before they even start the job.
Right. Before we talk about the refinery, the trillions, expended on the refineries. One last one, concerning this vehicles purchase. Part of the response was that they needed I mean, they don't need domestically manufactured vehicles because we have industries that assemble, for instance, in Nigeria. What they needed is foreign cars, Prado Jeeps and what have you. And here we are at a crossroad, finding it difficult to fix our foreign exchange. Our naira value is on free fall, it's declining substantially. And we are more concerned about getting foreign goods. Now, what does this say about the so much talked about noise around reviving the naira, or stabilizing the naira, or rescuing the naira from the free fall, if we can do this?
Yesterday, we saw the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform submitting what is called the quick win report to Mr. President, which Mr. President has graciously, signed off and said it should be executed. And there's a lot of things about policies, about actions and plans and strategies to turn around the economy. There's been a lot of body movements by Mr. President in terms of policy statements and this. But you see, the issue is this. There must be a connection between fiscal policy, in terms of policy. You are talking policy strategy now.
That's right.
There must be a connection, a handshake between fiscal policy and fiscal discipline. Only then will there be concomitant effect on the socio-economic well-being of Nigerians. Now, this conversation about Nigerian cars, is elementary. With due respect to the hollow chambers, we have brilliant economists, chartered accountants, people that have reached their peak of career. And sadly, coming with this move to trigger an importation move in an economy that requires a reverse of importation.
That's right.
Now, if one may argue that the demand on Emerson will be too much for him to deliver, because I remember His Excellency Alex Oti, Governor of Abia, procured Innocent vehicles, but also mentioned that Innocent could not deliver all what he ordered for, and therefore had to buy outside in Toyota from outside. But this hollow chamber can do without those vehicles. That's my point. And even if they have to see us scaling down the specification of those vehicles to maybe ones that are a bit cheaper, to maybe brands that are a bit cheaper or significantly cheaper, to help to show, to demonstrate commitment to the Nigerian project, and that they really care about those people that voted them in the sun, in the rain, to come into those hollow chambers. But it appears they have forgotten.
It's a mismatch, We have the body movement, but we don't have the fiscal discipline
or the sincerity of purpose
to do
ab initio.
So all of this, would end up as just, well, fairy tale, some would say.
I call the Nigerian politics or the governance conversation a drama.
All right, we'll take more of that, perhaps after the break, and then delve into other issues. We're talking about, the huge amount of money being expended to revive the nation's refineries that are comatose, and then the statements also made by the president. We'll take a break. When we return, the conversation continues. And we have in the studio, doing justice to this topic, Baba Yusuf, policy analyst and strategist, and of course, Dr. Isa Abdullahi from the Federal University Kashere in Gombe State. So we'll take a break. When we return, the conversation continues. Stay with us.
It was never a consensus. We did all our best. You see, in politics, you give your contribution to the best of your ability.
If you want, I'll forward to you this statement. You go to this bank and verify.
But there are people who say not spending money is not about you.
I'm coming. Let me finish.
But there's so much to be done.
Let me finish. Now, you don't allow me to explain myself.
The recent development shows abductions are now a factor of informants embedded in community.
It's not about the people of Katsina to say that, no, during my administration I was able to stop insecurity. No, it's about collective responsibility for all of us.
And what we should ask ourselves is not what has been seen, is the life better? Are there more people who are unemployed who are not become employed? Is the level of corruption has gone down? Is there inclusion? All those issues.
We're actually a gas country with associated oil. Our focus has always been on oil, that we have never paid significant attention to gas.
To do it effectively, we need to have honest conversation with ourselves. Government needs to calm down.
from his higher horse and communicate with the people and build trust.
There must be a solution. We cannot continue this way. They must come back to the table and agree. So whose child will do deny education? All these children that sit for jam, they want to go to higher institutions.
But just a short while ago, you were saying that why bring 10 children when you cannot cater for them? So why bring more universities when you cannot cater for the existing?
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow us across all our social platforms and watch us live on YouTube. Now, President Bola Tinubu, during the 29th edition of the Nigeria Economic Summit, made some lofty statements about Nigeria's future. For instance, during the president's address to Nigeria's business community, he stated that building megacities in every geopolitical zone of the size and scale of Lagos must not take us another 6 decades. We can do it in 1 decade. I still have my guests in the studio to give their perspectives on these issues. But before we look at this, we're talking about the Mariband refineries, 4 of them, gulping around 12 trillion naira in the last 13 years. What that means is that Nigeria is spending averagely about 1 trillion naira every year to fix these refineries that hasn't produced a single drop of fuel. And yet, the National Assembly is coming up with a committee to investigate. Series of investigations we've had in the past. What do you make up of this attempt this time around? Do they really need any committee to investigate when we have the figures? We know the contractors, we know those that are saddled with the responsibility of doing this and they fail to do it. Is it to talk about investigation or to talk about prosecuting those who fail to do this?
To be honest, the National Assembly discussions and actions, is getting to a point where I switch off the TV when I see them speaking, because year on year, parliament after parliament, these investigations have been rolling over since the beginning of the Fourth Republic. Okay? So reports have been written by either ad hoc committees or standing committees. Oversight function reports by the various standing committees of both the Green and the Hallowed Chamber have been submitted to the committees of the whole. They have all been gathering dust over the years. Motions have been moved on the floor of the Senate and the House of Representatives. In fairness to them, in some cases, the executive decided to look away of the previous administrations. In the past 13 years, within the period of under review, which is meaning across party lines.
That's right.
PDP government at the center and APC government at the center.
That's right.
And that tells you a lot about these so-called investigations. To my mind, these are still what I call just body movements to show activity. And in my book of principles of life, performance is not measured by evidence but by results.
That's right.
So as far as I'm concerned, this is another flash in the pan to show Nigerians some activities are going on. Nobody has been brought to account. Nobody will be brought to account, because the question you will ask is, how did with the parliament, when the Fourth Assembly or the Third Assembly, as the case may be, in 1999 was inaugurated till date, how did we allow ourselves to get to the point of about 12 trillion after the fact and start doing this, running on the treadmill to say we want to do investigation?
Yet without anything
there is no seriousness to this, and I'm not expecting anything out of it anyway.
Okay, let me get Doctor's perspective on this. Nigerians keep hearing about these figures, from 56.7 billion naira for vehicles to 11 points, they are about trillions of naira expended on turnaround maintenance of refineries. How do you think Nigerians, are receiving these figures? It's becoming something, some will say, alarming. When you are battling to feed 3 square meals, and then you hear people talking about trillions of naira expended without results. How do Nigerians take some of these conversations?
Well, I think Nigerians will always not take the government too serious, because we always feel in Nigeria that it's like the government is doing something different from what the people that elected the government is expected to see. Ordinarily, we are supposed to have a government that looks at the available resources we are having at hand and using everything we can within our own possibility to make sure that the resources we have at hand, we utilize it efficiently so that it will benefit the maximum number of the people without causing much harm to those people who have not benefited. Actually and honestly, to be candid with you, I'm not that too happy with the way things are going, most especially the running of the economy of Nigeria is concerned. How can you, I don't think any country around the world will be that happy, will be that comfortable with the equilibrium we feel we are settling, our equilibrium in court. That we have refineries that are not functional. Those refineries cannot refine even a single oil for us. And we keep on taking the much of money we are having to go and buy oil outside the country. Yet we spend trillions of naira maintaining the refineries, maintaining the workers in the refineries. And here are we saying that we are having a problem of no money to pay salaries, no money to increase for the poor worker, no money to even support the foreign exchange market, no money for us to even pay for running the universities. Then we are in a very big problem. We are in a very, very bad situation. A situation whereby ordinary Nigerians will feel that the government is not working for them. They feel that your own share of government is you just get it when the time of politicking is around. Yeah. To the extent that people will be also trying to lose hope on what is happening in the country. Yeah, so we need to, like in the about 7th or 8th Republic, there was a time when the House of Representatives inaugurated a committee to investigate certain shady deals in the petroleum industry. And the irony of it was, those people saddled with the responsibility of investigating, they themselves felt culpable of the same situation. I remember the saga of Honorable Farooq Lawal. Farooq Lawal was asked to investigate. And at the end of the day, he was trying to collect some money from those people he was investigating. And unfortunately, he was covered on camera. And that was the whole of the story. We couldn't hear anything more than that again. Many of these reports were done. Right. Electricity report was done. Investigation were done about the National Integrated Power Project in Nigeria. Over $16 billion were expended, unnecessarily were lavished. Okay. And Doctor, the reports lied there, nothing was done, and we keep on doing these reports.
Yes, Doctor, if I may interject, here we are with an administration that is giving Nigerians hope. And of course, a president who said that his government shall govern ethically with accountability and transparency, implementing sound and effective policies to accomplish its 8 priority areas. Now, looking at this and looking at the need for governance accountability, in the face of challenging moments where the country is somewhat broke, that doesn't have monies to carry on with the key responsibilities bestowed on it. How do you think the president should take this issue, seriously? 11 trillion naira, 12 trillion naira is not small money. You're talking about almost half of Nigeria's budget 2023 in the hands of people who are yet to deliver. And what will happen to, should they be allowed to just go scot-free? What should the government do if it is serious about governance accountability?
Well, thank you very much. I think, let me start by saying this. I feel, personally, I feel President Bola Tinubu has the mind and also has the guts. Why am I saying this? It's like the former President Muhammad Buhari had the guts also, had the mind also to do it, but then at a point in time, they lost a direction, or the government they became as most especially President Muhammad Buhari at a point in time he was not even in control of the government. The government was there, parliament was there, people were there at the presidency, around the corner, cabals were there. He alone personally could not be everywhere to do everything that was supposed to be done, although he is the man at the church and at the helm of affairs. I'm afraid President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did perform wonderfully well when he was the governor of Lagos. And I strongly believe his kind of policies are those policies that have put Lagos on the track of development. And upon that ground, I feel, why am I saying this? Because right from 1999 to date, almost all the governors in Lagos were either Bola Tinubu himself or his own voice on the government. And I believe it's his own philosophy they are working, they are using. And I believe it's his own kind of mind and thinking that is putting Lagos on the track.
Okay,
and I feel he is the kind of person that can assist Nigeria to go to the development, to go to a very high level. In fact, from his utterances, when I hear him speaking of Nigeria could be a $1 trillion economy, I'm happy because I feel that's how he thinks and that's how he feels. But then, how can we get there with this kind of a system?
That is the fundamental
How
question.
can we,
Doctor.
They say a bad habit is like a flat tire. You cannot move until you change the flat tire. We need to get rid of our bad habits. We need to get rid of our get-rich-quick syndrome. We need to get rid of our situation whereby we don't have the national, interest at our own heart. We need to get rid of the people who don't want to see the government working well, who don't want to see the economy performing, who don't want to see that Nigeria is at the track of the development. We don't want to see an economy whereby some few people will hijack the government and then they will tilt it to their own, your personal interest.
Okay, thank you very much.
If President Bola Tinubu allows that to happen, then we will have a problem with the government. He needs to be in charge of the affairs of the government.
Right. Okay. You've had some of the interventions now, Doctor. I've seen you nodding your head and taking some notes. Do you agree with some of those submissions? Because he's quite optimistic that with the kind of person we have at the helm of affairs, things could turn around, for the better. But then we're talking about political will. We're talking about motions without action. We're talking about the sincerity of purpose and all of that. How do we get there?
To be honest, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has a Herculean task. I totally agree. And during his inauguration, I granted an interview where I said his antecedents, pedigree, inherent capacities and competencies have prepared him for the leadership. But then the taste of the pudding is in the eating, isn't it? Leading at the subnational and the leading at
the complexities are not the same.
A different kettle of fish with all the dynamics.
Right.
But of course, he is somebody that can easily adapt. I see him trying to do so, albeit a bit of a struggle. Of course, understandably, because of the complexities of a country called Nigeria. But then the variables of the dynamics are so many that for some of us that are in the science field would tell you this calculus is becoming a bit difficult one to crack by Mr. President. Also to understand that in a democracy like this, a single what I call the focal point leader is not enough to deliver.
That's right.
We need all hands on deck. We need the legislature. We need the judiciary. And even within the executive, how in sync and lockstep are the team of Mr. President? I give you an instance of my worry. About 5 to 6 top line appointments by Mr. President were embarrassingly reversed by Mr. President. Appointments that hitherto you will expect a Mr. President to go through sure-footedly before making those appointments. That tells you a lot that is going on in the back office of Mr. President. Of course, having realized it's a mistake, he has to take. But that speaks volume from a policy perspective and from overall leadership and governance perspective for Mr. President for things that we are going to expect. I hope and pray that in the next couple of weeks, Mr. President will realize that achieving the $1 trillion economy by the year he mentioned.
Yeah, he's talking about it can be done in the next 1 decade, for instance.
No. By 2020, yes, to achieve it by 2026, I think 1 trillion, and then 3 trillion in the next decade is far-fetched. We have to go back to the basic. If the foundation is faulty, you cannot build anything that will last. Right. We cannot achieve a $1 trillion economy in the next, 3 years? When we have all these indices that are showing, and a government that is not showing that consciousness of that reality in action. The consciousness of reality in mantra, in reeling out the numbers is there, but in action, because that will now reflect in the actions, in manners, like what we see now with cars and people fighting over cars. Fiscal discipline
so if I understand,
is the first fundamental
the
step
ambition
for
now overshadows the will to deal with the realities. Is that what we're saying?
No. There's a parallel here.
Okay.
The ambition is not even connected with the pillars that will take you to the reality. Okay, so you have strategic objectives.
So what's the missing link?
What are the pillars? The missing link is the political will. The missing link is the sincerity of purpose. You know, it's not just one link. Before you get political will, first of all, is the purpose sincere? Not just by you, by all the critical stakeholders, in this case, the three arms of government and the team. You understand? And then secondly, are you working with that based on the sincerity? Purpose is not enough. Lofty ideas are not enough. Are you walking the talk from the point of view of facing that reality, to make the sacrifices, to leave the commitment and deliver the promise?
Yeah, take a look at the mega cities. You know, building mega cities in every geopolitical zone of the size and scale of Lagos must not take us another 6 decades. We can do it in 1 decade, in 10 years.
I totally agree. But these are just wild elephants waiting to happen. Without that fiscal discipline, how will these mega cities translate into tangible and intangible socio-economic values and impacts?
That's right. Looking at the last line, they're talking about ending poverty, achieving food security, economic growth, job creation, access to capital across all segments, and so on. And then, you know, these are some of the key takeaways from his submissions at the National Economic Summit. You know, how do we get there?
This still sounds like visions. Visions without mission statements or mission intentions. Mission is the purpose. Vision is the aspiration. They are still aspirations. Have we moved on from aspirations to missions? Meaning the purpose? And how do we move?
What are the mechanics? What are the mechanisms to get there?
To move that purpose or to achieve that purpose, the steps to take, the actions to take, not just in terms of mantra, but in terms of action.
Okay, we just hope, you know, some of these dreams will come to fruition, even in the face of the challenging moment we have in our country. It's about time we have to come to the end of this conversation, but I will give you the last line before I get back to Doctor to also give us his last line. What do you see in the nearest future? Where do you see Nigeria in the nearest future, looking at all of this? Motions, actions, inactions, and so on.
Unless we have seriously addressed the issue of our lack of fiscal discipline, unless based on that, the cost of governance is cut down, and unless we see the sense of sacrifice and service is inherent in the political leaders, the dollar we are seeing could hit more than 2,000. I pray we don't go the Zimbabwe way, because the actions by the political actors is not in any way
encouraging,
hedging against the headwinds. So you can go and get as much revenue in terms of incomes and investments, so long as you are putting them into a pocket that has a hole, or you are pouring a water into a basket, nothing will be retained.
That's right.
And then no results or progress will be made. The future is bleak, and I don't know what to say beyond that.
The future is bleak.
Absolutely.
And we hope the policymakers, the people in authorities are listening, and so that they can take the right steps to salvage the country from going down the drain. Thank you very much, Dr. Ababa Yusuf, for talking to us on Daily Politics.
It's a pleasure to be here anytime, Shafi.
We also appreciate Dr. Isa Abdullahi from the Federal University, Kashiri, for his informed perspectives. We appreciate all of you.
Thank you so much.
And viewers, that's a wrap on today's package. We sincerely hope you found the conversation engaging and informative. And be sure to join us on Daily Politics Live, airing every weekday, and also our social package, a special package on Friday, during which we open our telephone line for you to comment on national issues. Once again, we thank you for watching. I am Shafiu Suleiman.